I'll call to order the February 7th Finance meeting. You've all been provided the minutes of the December 6th, 2023 committee meeting. Are there any additions?
Move for approval of the December 6th meeting minutes. Second.
Motion by Gary, second by Max. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That one just has my signature. Next up is an appropriation request from the auditor of $1,000 for plat room for office supplies. Mark, you wanna?
We had it as part of my budget for '24. Council cut it out. We have expenses out of it we need to pay. We need the money.
Do we, did this need to be advertised as an appropriation?
Yes.
And was it advertised?
Well, this I believe is just a transfer.
It says an appropriation
Yeah.
Okay.
from a transfer from one.
Right.
Is this to be out of general fund or out of?
No, out of the plat room funds.
But it's an appropriation, not a transfer.
Correct.
Mark, can I ask, what did you buy? And what did you get for?
Right now, we have an expense of around between $200 and $300, but there is no money, there's no line item.
I just thought maybe she updated some books or something. I was just curious in there what would have been.
You never had a.
It's not a big ticket item. Pardon?
You guys never had an office supply line item in the.
We
Yeah.
did, but you didn't appropriate anything
Cut it out.
in the budget.
The form that we were provided shows that it's an additional appropriation. It's not presented as transfer.
Right, I guess that's the form.
Yeah, but, yeah, so that's gonna have to be advertised and we can't act on that today. So, formally ask that and advertise
Okay.
You have anything
That's
in
where
that
I was
budget?
going, is if
Transfer
it's an
from
additional
one?
appropriation, it would have to be advertised.
Pardon?
Sorry.
Is there any money in another fund there that you transferred out of?
The budget's really tight.
You don't have
I
to.
mean, theoretically,
check
couldn't this be
before-
paid out of the auditor's budget,
Yes.
$200 or $300, rather than the plat room?
We can do that.
You know, why don't you
As
do
long
that
as
and
it's-
see how that goes, and,
It'll probably make the auditor short though in the long run because
but then you might know what better line item you could transfer from. This would avoid having to advertise and,
Yeah, that just delays everything. I've got a bill over there now.
okay, if you wanna, do you know where you would? Well, you just pay it, you'll just pay it out of your line item. So, I don't think we'd need a transfer
so you're saying to pay it out of a different line
out
item?
of the
Out of
auditor's
the auditor's budget instead of
office
the plat room.
supplies.
But if you want to advertise, come back with an appropriation request to
Then I'll
finish out
come
the
back.
year, then
Later on.
Yeah.
future meeting, we could act on that.
Okay,
Let's do it that way.
All right.
I don't want to go through the additional appropriation process.
I didn't think you'd wanna do that for $1,000. Next up, we talked about this previously in the council meeting. It's a transfer of $38,377.33 from the naming rights, paying back the council one-time money. We wanted to be able to do that and had not received the money from First Bank Richmond for the naming rights. So we paid for it out of one time with the thought that it would get reimbursed by the naming rights once the money came in. So it's the transfer for the reimbursement of the fairground tables and chairs.
Move we approve.
Second.
Motion a second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next, Brandon, do you want to come forward and talk to us about highway bridge projects?
Okay. I know last year we touched a little bit on the new process for accounting for the federal reimbursement grants. At first of the year, I was working with Mark and Andy about just creating one fund and then having each project as an account line item. Then after we started working through that process, we realized that when the money comes back in, to try to get it back into that specific account number was gonna be an ordeal or a process that wasn't gonna work for us. So after talking with LTAP, they recommended just having a separate fund for each federal reimbursement project to better track the cash balances. Once you pay your expense, it goes negative, and then when you get your reimbursement, it comes back zero, and it's all in that one fund. It's easily tracked, and we're done. So that is why we're going to just request to create our 9 individual funds for each one of our federal funds.
I have a question. So do they always, it always comes back exactly and zeros out?
Yes.
That's
So
good. So we won't have a fund report at the end of the year that's got $20 or negative 100 or things like that. They'll always just zero.
Right, so what we've got our 20% local match and our 1135 bridge account. That'll be paid. When we get our invoice in, we pay 20%, and then the 80% will come from these new funds, which would drop that 80% value down to the negative. And then when we get the reimbursement the following month, it'll be that same amount back up, so it'll be zero. That way it'll help us track, if they're all zeroed out, then that means we've received the reimbursement back that we requested.
Everybody understand what we're?
Yeah.
They're all listed. We're just creating new funds, so I in appreciation of Gary's question of, will this take an hour and a half or not? I won't read through all the numbers for the new funds, but they're all listed there, A through I. Do we have a motion?
That we create the 9 new fund numbers for the bridge funds as noted on the information that we have.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Brandon.
And I have the form, I don't know if there's anybody who can sign this, or it's a request to create new funds.
Do you need to sign these? I've never seen these before.
Yeah, we do.
I do? Oh, okay.
Either you or
Okay.
Tony, I'm
Yeah,
not sure which,
I
but
signed the one.
normally we do.
Thank you.
Go ahead and sign
Is
them.
that everything you need on this?
Okay, next up, we have, Public Defender, and I think Corey George is here to speak on their behalf.
Morning.
Yes, I'm here on behalf of the Public Defender's Office. Fairly simple request. But back in November of 2023, the Fleet Management Committee was able to assign a car to the Public Defender's Office for use by the Public Defender Investigator. At that time, the committee recognized there was not a gas, fuel, and lubricant line in their budget. So really, I'm just here to request the creation of that line in the Public Defender County General Budget, and make a transfer from another line in order to provide adequate funding.
Do you,
create this line item last fall? We just didn't fund it? I thought we already created it.
we talked about it, but we let it go till, yeah. But don't you also need additional funds in there?
So the second part of the request is we were just asked to move money from a line within the county general fund to fund the.
I thought Diane was gonna ask for additional whatever to get them to the end of the year. She didn't mention
We
that.
assumed to avoid the additional appropriation piece, we would just transfer money now and do our best to manage it. It's only $1,500.
Yeah.
The request is, from Fund 1,000, account number 33,190, which is trial prep. Transfer 1,500 from there into gas, fuel, and lubricants.
Okay, then she changed it from when I talked to her because it was only 700 she thought that they had, so they found more. That's fine. That's why she didn't do the other piece. Thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we create a line item.
Second.
Do we have the line item? Do you have your computer to tell us a line item?
Isn't it on that paper?
Gas, fuel, and lubricants. but I
It's blank.
did
It's
not know the number.
It's gas,
I think
fuel, and
it's-
lubricants, but there's not an account number.
330110.
Those are the questions
Maybe.
that we need to ask him.
On the copy I gave you, I didn't put it on there. I'm sorry. I thought I did because I looked it up.
Maybe we supplied a fund, a line item.
You have the budget up, Barry, because you could look in somebody else that has it.
We have several departments that have cars, and I'm just thinking offhand, when I asked her to check, that we pay gasoline for, lubricants and all that. And I don't think we have line items in each, like, for example, the surveyor's office. I don't know that we have a line item in each department to cover gasoline.
We do in salt conservation.
Yeah.
I think we do.
I-
If cars assigned to a department, then they should have a line item in their
For
budget
gasoline.
for gas, fuel, and all.
I can't remember. There's so many budgets, I don't know.
In one budget, it's account number 22210.
It's gonna be the same one.
So it would be a transfer, looking for a motion to well,
Let's create.
number one, create the line item 22,210 in the public defender's, budget. Do we have a motion?
I was making that motion and didn't have the number, so
Second.
I'll move.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We've created the line. Now, I need a motion, to transfer $1,500 from 33,190 trial prep into 22,210 gas, fuel, and lubricants in the public defender's budget.
What'd you say the number is?
22,210,
No, I mean, you're transferring
33,190.
33,190 is what it says.
I'll second Gary's motion.
You're looking on your computer at the budgets in another office.
To find the numbers,
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
yeah. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming for it.
As a comment, you can do that now to allow, and we don't have to necessarily have her go look. You can look at your computer, you can find it.
Just ask that she always bring her computer to
I
the
know.
meeting, so it's just, ask the auditor's office and not have to do it herself.
Next up, is, court services request. Kathy, I'll let you speak to this. I know you've worked on it.
So I worked with Court Services and Superior 3 and Mark's, the auditor's bookkeeper, And this is more a thing for ease of accounting. So we created last year the fund 2503 for jury pay, which they collect on some fines and fees from people that have had issues. And so if we would take the money that are sitting in the two budgets, court services, Superior 3, and one is for per diem pettit juror pay, and the other one is for per diem jurors, and take those two different line items, basically it's the same thing in the courts to pay the jurors, and transfer all of that money into Fund 2503. Then when the bookkeeper gets, in Mark's office, gets the claim to pay it, she pays it out of that one fund, rather than it's in the individual department, but then she's got to see, is there money in 2503, and who has first dibs on that? So I think if we would go ahead and move whatever the balance is, and I see there's a balance on here, I didn't check it, but I'm assuming Tony or Bobby or somebody did, okay. So we just want to take the money out of both of those line items and move them into Fund 2503. And then also the other thing, just for ease of accounting too, is at the end of the year, the people in those courts have to report to the state about this. But when the bookkeeper puts it in, she would put Superior 1, Superior 3, whatever court it is, like first thing. So when she pulls up the report, they can tell which is theirs for the reporting pieces. And then maybe next year, a thought for council is, rather than create those lines in their budgets, we create one line in council's budget, and then January 1, we move it all into 2503. But that's a thought for later this year. So I would make the motion unless somebody has a question.
I have a question. The request for transfer was not signed by a department yet.
I did it just because I talked to them on the phone and I wasn't here, and they said, go ahead, so, and that's why I'm doing this instead of, we were trying to keep Corey, the other thing came up after we'd already agreed to do this was like a month ago, right after the last meeting, so, but we can send that over if you want, we have a new judge.
I just don't want to transfer money that a department head wasn't involved in the discussion, but with that explanation, I'll make a motion to approve the
Second.
transfer.
Okay, so the motion is to transfer from the general fund, 65,000 from account line item 33011 and 10,000 from 33010 into Fund 2503. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, it looks like we have completed everything. Anybody have anything else for Finance Committee? I understand that we won't be having a personnel this morning, so I have a motion to adjourn.
We adjourn.
Second.
Motion second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.